Hello and welcome to our video on synopses. Now, synopses are one of those things which typically authors get awfully wound up about writing. They dread them, they hate them, they despise them, they loathe them. But hopefully what I can talk about today in my video is a method that you can use that will make this process less painful for you and a bit more simple and straightforward. Now, a synopsis is essentially a very fact-based, no thrills, no frills account of your story's events. Now, most synopses that are requested are a single page synopsis. Usually they say single spaced, which gives you a little bit more word count, but you should also have variations of that available as well, because some people like a 2 or 3 page synopsis or different variants on spacings and so on, so have them available too. So what is my synopsis method? Well, it has 7 steps, and for each of those 7 steps we write down one sentence and then expand upon it. And the 7 steps that I've chosen, if you've watched a video on story structure, you'll recognise them as being the 7 sort of key main events that almost every story has. So if we have a quick look here at our list of the 7 different components of my synopsis method, I think you'll very quickly recognise the different elements that are essential and we talked about in the story structure video. So let's start off with component 1 then, which is a single sentence about the character in their own world. So call it the setup. So the age of the character, any sort of special significant information we need to know about them, where they are, what, you know, if it's a fantasy world, let us know. If it's in space, let us know. If it's a historical novel, let us know. If it's, you know, whatever we need to know about the main character, this is where you put it in right at the start. We want interesting and engaging and unique characters, so this is your chance to show that off. So one sentence about the character, condense it, put in only the key important standout features of that character. So if you remember our story structure video, you'll remember that the next thing that happens is the inciting incident. Okay, funny story, I used to think that was when I first heard it was the exciting incident, and it actually made sense because a lot of the time the inciting incident is also very exciting, but yeah, I made that daft mistake. Don't you make that mistake. The inciting incident is the point in the story where everything changes for the character. So again, one sentence about that. What has changed in our life? We've got the setup, now we've got the change. What has changed and what is going to irreversibly catapult our main character into the story. After that, part 3, we're looking at the biggest conflicts that they're going to face, the biggest obstacles that our main character is going to face on their way to achieving what they want in the story. What is it they want? What are their goals, their objectives, their wants and needs? What do they desire? Let us know that, because that actually has an important bearing on the obstacles and conflicts that you choose. They should relate to stopping the person, the main character, from getting to their objective. So one sentence on that. Then part 4 is time to escalate. So how can we escalate the stakes, escalate the conflict and tension that the main character is currently having to endure in order to get to their goal? Make it as big, make it as bold, make it as ambitious as possible. Make us really think that the odds are stacked against the main character and that there's no way they're going to achieve their goal, because then we're actually interested to read on and see if they will. If it's too easy for them, there's no real conflict or tension. We don't feel emotionally invested in that character. So make those escalating conflicts and obstacles, make them as big as you can. Sentence 5, we're looking for a build-up of the conflicts to the point where they reach crises. Okay, now crises doesn't need to be a series of events, it could be just one event, but I often find when I'm reading a book I like to have multiple crises, and if you watch sort of Netflix series and so on, they're perfect at having episode crises which build up towards one climax at the end. So the crisis points are just that build up and escalation that we got in the previous sentence. It's getting to towards a crux point. Sentence 6, we're going to be looking at the climax. So that's I guess in sort of fantasy novels it tends to be that final battle with the antagonist, or if it's a different kind of novel, it's where all of the series of obstacles that the major character has overcome, it's now at the point where they face their biggest ever obstacle in order to get their goal, or what it is that they desire. So that will come in the climax, so one sentence on that. And then lastly, the final 7th sentence should be on the resolution. So that's what happens after that final conflict, that final battle, that final obstacle. What happens to the character then? They have overcome that final obstacle. Do they get their goal? Do they live happily ever after? Is there a twist in the tale? Whatever you decide is going to be the final outcome for the main character, this is the point where we go into it. And actually this is the point as well where we're looking at growth in character arcs, and we should be seeing that initial setup, sentence 1. We should be seeing the character having changed and be different in sentence 7, the resolution. So once you've got your 7 sentences all together, so obviously that doesn't make a full page. So what you're going to do is you're going to look at them and you're going to say, okay, I'm going to expand on X, Y and Z. I'm going to expand on this particular scene and then include a bit more about this, or I'm going to expand on this particular part and include a bit more in this. My advice would be you want plenty about the rising conflicts and tensions. You want a fair bit on the climax as well, that final biggest obstacle that they're going to overcome. Stakes as well, make sure you include somewhere at one point what is at stake for this individual if they do not achieve their goal. We want to know why this matters so much to the main character. Why do they need to achieve their goal? That's your stakes, and as I've talked about in a previous video, make those as personalised and emotionally laced as you can, and when you do that you're more likely to engage your reader and get them to root for your main character to achieve their goal. And hopefully once you've just expanded a little bit on each of those 7 individual sentences, you'll have something that comes close to a page. And I would suggest you just keep expanding till the point where you get to a page, and then you start saying, okay, is this everything I need? If it is, perfect. If it's not, then look at maybe cutting bits and adding bits here and there and so on. A synopsis, see, to be honest, I don't think I've ever written a synopsis and then that's it, it's been left like that. It's a fluid and ever-changing document, and it will be from the stage of querying through to the stage of submitting to publishers through to getting published. It changes all of the time. Mine at the moment is still ever fluid, ever changing, because we're changing small points in the story structure, which then obviously affects the synopsis itself. Okay, so don't be precious about changing it. Whatever it is going to change all the time, but it works as a good framework, as a good indicator for agents when you're submitting to them that you are hitting the right beats, that you know story structure, that you come to a satisfying resolution at the end of your story, you know how to build up conflicts, you know how to build in emotional stakes. It proves to the agent or the reader that you can tell a good story. And that's the function of the synopsis. Now, I've actually seen on Twitter and so on that a lot of people say, agents say, don't even read the synopsis until after I've read the pages. So the focus, obviously, as always, needs to be on the words and the story, but the synopsis, a good synopsis, can help to show that you have a good ability to tell a story. So I hope that video has helped to demystify and make the whole process about writing a synopsis a little bit easier for you. As I say, this is just my method. It's not an industry standard or approved method or anything. It's just how I do it. If it's been helpful to you, that's great. If it's not, then that's fine. Use an alternative method. There's 101 ways to do everything in writing, and this is just my way. So I'm just going to finish off by saying good luck, and may the force be with all of you.